Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for joining me here at Ne0 Gets to Know, the interview series where we get to know multiple esports pros from all around the scene and the surface. And of course, today I'm joined by none other than NaToSaphiX. I've already spoke to you once before, quite a while back now, so it's been a while. But how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it has definitely been a while. I remember I was back in Lyngby,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's good to be back.
that's what we love to hear. So we'll get straight into it. Let's start with, of course, CS:GO, the main thing to talk about. How did you go from just being, any old guy in Denmark to sort of one of the best sort of free agents around at the moment in CS:GO? What's your story into CS:GO?
Oh well, I don't know actually. I always just had CS as kind of a hobby. Like I've sort of always had a pretty easy time when it comes to school and so
Mm.
on. So it was like super easy for me to just like go for a normal career basically.
Okay,
But
yeah,
then I started doing YouTube and stuff like that, and it started like blowing up a little bit. Um, so then I started doing that and like living off of CS, and then
sure.
I guess just I think there was like one big thing that happened that got like
Hmm.
I got really lucky with, I would say, was like there was this well there is this Hiko and
Okay,
well yeah Hiko highlight versus yeah I guess it was Dignitas they were called back then.
sure.
Um and before that Dupree has like a 3K and there was some line I don't even remember it now. It's like something caster. Are you kidding me, Dupree, or whatever, you know?
Yo, yes, yeah, another
Yeah,
one.
something
Yeah,
like that. And I was saying that on my stream because I thought it sounded like pretty sick, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And then Dupree was randomly watching my stream at that moment when I said it.
sure.
And he stopped by in the chat and we ended up playing a few games like throughout the next few days and stuff. And yeah, he was probably the first guy that was actually someone that believed in me. So
Nice.
then after that, I gave it an actual shot, and yeah, it has definitely been a pretty bumpy road, maybe bumpier than most people's road to where I am now. But
Yeah,
yeah, like that's kind of where things changed, where I went from a YouTuber to like a guy who's actually tryharding, getting good at the game. Yeah,
it's not bad to have Dupree as well come in. Of all the people to
no,
sort of notice you, one of the Astralis legends is it's a pretty good one.
exactly.
How did you go from you sort of mentioned with playing with Dupree, but how did you go from kind of being just the guy who plays pugs with your friends to sort of playing in the pro scene? Did you go through the face it route? I know you play a lot of FPL in your spare time, or was it ESCA leagues in that sense with a team? So what was your sort of route from going from sort of amateur to pro really?
Well, the thing was actually I started by I met a guy in matchmaking and
Okay.
didn't actually really play with him. His name was Rizix.
Mm.
But then at some point I did some like thing where viewers could come in and play arms race, like gun game versus me.
Okay. Yeah.
And if they beat me, then I would open a case and whatever was in the case they would get. I'm pretty sure this video is
Nice.
still on my channel.
Yeah.
I found out this guy was pretty good because he kept beating me, you know. So I
Okay.
made a team with him and
Sure.
that's what turned into the one that was like where Ne0 was standing in at some point, and we picked up
Right.
Magisk, who was like yeah, Magisk boy at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and we started playing like, for example, the ESCA leagues. One of them we needed a stand-in for the playoffs. We got Config in all
Oh,
the way back in
what a team! What a
2015.
team this is
We
already.
that was actually a banging lineup, you know,
Yeah.
like me, Magisk, Config, and then
That,
Rizix, who I also thought was really good.
that's
I
unreal.
think last was maybe even Cyclone, who's now
The mouse
the
sports
mouse sports.
next.
Okay, yeah, so we actually all kind of made it from that team, maybe
Damn.
except for Rizix, but he stopped early. I would say
Mm.
it's a crazy team. We ended up winning the whole playoffs of ESEA Open and went to main, which was a big deal for us back then. So
Damn.
yeah, I think that was kind of how it got started, and then people started like noticing me because Magisk shortly after got picked up by another team. Same with
Sure.
Rizix, and then Magisk went to SK and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
Ne0 obviously also got picked up by some of the big guys. So yeah, I had kind of been playing around those teams, then I just yeah jumped to like different teams and
Sure.
didn't really achieve all too much, but yeah, people knew me from YouTube and from having played with some of the better players, I guess.
I'm still in shock about that roster. That is just some talent in
Yeah,
that team. It's insane.
bro, I will have to Google this now, but ECA Open Season
There's
17, I want to say it is or something
17,
like
and we're now on 38. I think, or so. Like we're in. So that's a long time ago.
yeah, bro.
What a team! Config,
Oh,
bit of Electro, Magisk, yourself, Rizik, who of course you said is a
yeah.
talented. Oof, it's a team and a half.
At least I see us in season 17. We
Mm.
got number 7 in playoffs, but lost. But I know there was a season we won. Probably I can find it 2 seconds. It
Go
must be
for
on
it. Go
esports
for it.
earnings, man. I have to find this because the lineup was actually banging. I'm pretty sure it was how I said it. let's see here, 2015. Oh man, how does this work? Yeah, like that. Season 19 was the one.
Okay.
And it
Who's
was
that roster? Yeah.
Flip one. He doesn't really play anymore, I guess. Then
Yeah, sure.
Magisk, me, Rizix, Cyclone, and then instead of Flip, we had the config in as stand-in for the playoffs.
Damn,
It's
what
a
a team.
pretty sick team, actually.
And then
Even
now, I mean,
today.
a good portion of you have all played at tier 1 level. So
Yeah,
that's a
that's
really
actually
nice rise to pro. That's a cool
yeah,
story as well. I'd never heard of
yeah,
that. That's brilliant.
yeah. And I guess we were all like, I mean, it was 2015, so for example, I must have been like 19 or something like that,
Mm,
and Magisk is like 1 or 2 years younger than me. Rizix was one
sure.
year older than me. I think Cyclone is same year as me or 1 year older or something. So it's like everyone was basically the same age. Also Config, I think a little bit younger than me, so we were
Mm.
pretty young actually, all of us. It was actually a pretty cool tournament.
Yeah. And so back then, was like the sort of being a pro, was that something in your eyes that you were like, oh, I can actually do this? Or was that, were you kind of just playing for fun? You knew you were good, but like kind of playing for fun? Was it the path to pro? Was that like a thing for you at the time?
I think it was like for me a long time that I felt like I was good enough to play pro, but no one really gave me the proper opportunity.
Sure.
And I actually ended up playing. I can't remember if it was 17 or 19 months in a row unsalaried before I got picked up by Sprout.
Wow. Okay.
I all the money I had earned from YouTube and streaming and so on, all of it was gone. I was down to like a few €100, like 500 maybe, and I had to pay rent and stuff. It was
Yeah.
horrible. I knew like okay, the dream is dead if I don't start popping off, and then I just
Mm.
started popping off. So that was pretty lucky, I guess.
And then, so I guess like that's like the other side of thing of like a professional player. You know, you got the pressures of money, pressures of finding a salary team, pressures of performing so you can get onto a team. For you, how
Yeah.
big of a deal like was that? I obviously there's something that I would never experience because I've obviously never kind of been pro or would ever be good enough to be pro. But I mean, though it's as you mentioned, it sounds tough, right? You know, you got to balance economy, obviously your money you make from YouTube and that kind of stuff. It sounds like a big deal is trying to keep up uptake.
Yeah, I mean it can be. I was kind of fortunate that then the team I got onto was one of the higher salaried ones, but some people start by playing all salaried for a really long time, which is like completely normal, right?
Yeah.
That happens to everyone. But for me it was like yeah, I was already a little bit older. I wasn't going to school. I was full time because I had my YouTube and stuff like that, so I was really like risking it all for this.
Sure. Sure.
And then like some people do all of that except the first team they get is a €500 salary or something.
Mm.
It's like hard. My
Tough. Yeah.
first salary was also like €250 a month, and that was like I even had an added bonus. Like my teammates were paid like 200. I had some extra because I had some social media. So, but I wouldn't call that
Okay.
pro. It was like different.
So for like an entry level salary, is that seen as quite a lot or not a lot? Because obviously it's a sort of it's something that's not really spoken about too much. It's sort of entry level salaries when you're getting onto teams like that. Is €250 a month seen as like a decent amount as someone just coming in?
I mean, I would probably, for people watching this, not advise signing a contract for such a low salary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's your only way in, I know there are some kind of countries, at least, where the best org you can get to in that country pays maybe not much more than that. And there you
Right.
need like a gateway to the pro scene, right? So maybe
Sure.
it's the best
Sure.
thing you can do is get onto the best roster of that team, improve your English and stuff, and improve your playing. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're good enough, then some other team will pick you up, you know?
Makes
But
sense.
otherwise, it's like if you sign a contract like that, you will have a buyout, and it will just be harder for other teams that actually want you to get you. So
Right. That
I,
yeah.
I would say it's not a good idea. Like when I went to Sprout, which was my first actual pro team, I got paid pretty well actually.
Mm.
I would say, yeah.
Enough to
Um,
live off, kind of thing.
yeah, I would say even now,
Mm.
like I strive for something greater, of course, but
Mm.
even now, if I got paid that salary, I would actually be kind of happy with it. Like
There we go.
that, I'm getting offers right now where I'm getting less. Let's say it like that. So,
Okay.
so Sprout is actually a really great org to be in. Like they have everything under control and the finances are in order, so that's perfect.
There we go. Sproul getting the praise there. So how
Yeah.
tough was the transition from kind of playing in sort of pugs, face it, and obviously you play a lot of FPL to then go into Team CS because they're completely different sort of styles of play. Face it and FPL, you can kind of just play on your own, very aggressive, do your own like kind of superstar plays. But when you go into sort of Team CS, like you mentioned, playing with teams like Sprout, you have a designated roles. So for yourself, you play a lot of AWPing roles or occasionally that rifler. You're in these dedicated roles. How tough is that transition for you?
Well, I mean, it is quite tough, but I actually don't think. I mean, I played maybe a lot of matchmaking, but I also just played. When I played a lot with the same people. So part of the reason why this lineup happened with Magisk, and that was because even though we weren't signed by anyone or anything, we were like always playing matchmaking together, always playing FaZe together, and we tried to, win Elo. We tried to get better. So I think that helped that we had tried to stick with the same group of people. We all had the same dream to go pro, and then we were like improving our team play and just our play in general.
Right.
But I know it was really hard at the beginning because going from like the pugs and into the team CS, it's like there's so many things you don't know that someone has to teach you, and because we were all so young, no one taught us at that moment. So like there were so many things we didn't understand basically, and the real reason we were good were probably just because we had so many hours of playing together that like even if our plans were not that great, we just knew how to play off of each other and stuff. That gives a lot. I mean, you see it with Gambit, for example.
Exactly. Those guys grind non-stop.
Yeah.
So exactly that. How did so obviously you mentioned talk about you came in with playing with in that open season, but how did your sort of professional experience come through? How did that offer come about to you? Did you get noticed through, like you mentioned, like that league where you won open? Was that like sort of your opening into getting to professional where you could officially do CS full time?
No, I think this open was 3 years before I got signed by Sprout actually, so it was quite a long time before. But what kind of happened was I had some time where I was playing in like a stable team, and I was just playing really good. Like I was really very consistent. I don't even know how I did it now. Maybe just because I was like playing basically the same sensitivity and resolution for like 3 or 4 months straight, but like I was super calm. Every fucking movement was just without even any error, like it was like how Tapson aims basically, that it's like so slow, but everything was just, you just knew he was gonna hit every time, it was like a surgical kind of it. I really liked that about myself, I guess. I felt I was playing really good, and I was putting up like pretty good numbers, like 1.3 rating past 3 months or something.
That's good,
So it was like I think that's what got me noticed. Then it was also, there was one specific tournament, a Danish tournament with like the sub top teams, so like maybe from number 6 in Denmark and down to number 15 in Denmark, and then they were all put into a tournament, and it was like, I can't remember if it was, I think it was just once a month or something like that. Then you got to play everyone, and we had never won it or anything. But we finally made it to the final, and then I had a friend who was the manager of Sprout at the time, and he was like talking me in to go to Sprout because they knew Sen, who is now on Fun Plus Phoenix. He was going out. So I got like a message right before the final, like, okay, bro, we are watching you. Like, the coach is watching you. You gotta fucking step up.
Yeah.
And then I had like, I think the first half on couple in the final, I had like 27 kills and 5 deaths or something insane.
That's
like,
what you want. When everyone's watching as well, to come. That's what you want.
So I had like, I think in the best of 3, I had like a rating of 1.77 or something ridiculous, like really high. And we won 2-0. I became MVP of the tournament.
Nice.
And then after that, Sprout basically said, okay, we'll give this guy a trial. So it was like partly network in that I knew the manager, so he kind of, but it was mainly based off of performance. It was not like he got me. He maybe got me an opportunity I wouldn't otherwise have gotten, but I was playing so good that at that moment I think I would have been like spotted by some other team if it hadn't been them.
With those ratings, you'd sort of expect to at some point, right? Yeah. So I guess one thing you sort of just touched on there, but one thing that isn't really spoken about too much is the trial process. How much pressure do you feel when you're like on trial at a team? Because obviously it's, you have to have those consistent performances or else you don't get this offer. So there's a lot riding on the line. It's a full salary, full-time CS off the back of a small amount of window to play really good CS.
Yeah. for sure. I think trial periods are pretty hard. I've gotten kind of used to them. I would say like I have had some failed trials. Like in Heroic was technically a trial. I was there for maybe
Sure.
3 or 4 months, and like yeah, I actually yeah, maybe that's a story for another time. But at least I didn't really complete my trial there. I also had like a trial in Gorillas.
Yeah.
At the start, I got told like, hey, 2 or 3 weeks, we'll let you know, you know. And then that 2 or 3 weeks turned into like, okay, we just changed positions because we got a new guy in. We'll give you another month. And then
Sure.
when that month was over, they were like, you know what? We still can't decide. I think another half a month or another
Right.
month, then there's player break. Then we will make a decision and stuff like that. It
Sure.
was like very, very long trial. I mean, in Heroic, my trial was like 4 months as well.
Wow. That's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was originally 3, but they asked me if I would be willing to extend it, and then for like a pay bump,
Okay.
in
Sure.
case I would actually get on the team, which I thought was a fair deal. Unfortunately, they probably just extended the trial because they wanted to see it was again player break, you know, and see
Right.
who is moving where and stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, I think maybe if I hadn't extended my trial there, maybe I would have still been there, you know. It's hard to say,
Yeah.
but yeah,
The
but
benefit of
either
hindsight.
way, yeah, exactly. But like in trial periods, it's you just have to obviously do your best. That's like really key. But also, I think everyone in trial periods are on their best behavior as well,
Yeah.
and um, you have to be able to also see past it if you are a team trialing. That this guy is like, if you see some tendencies that he's gonna be raging a lot or not performing, I
Yeah.
mean, you should like probably get rid of him, right? But there it is a lot of added pressure. But I think as you age and as you've gone through different trial processes, you know also that the best way to go through a trial is by not being nervous and not thinking about it as a
Yeah.
trial.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly that.
yeah.
So coming into CS:GO, who was your influence? Was there any sort of professional players who you were like to you? This is your hero, someone you looked up to, someone you maybe even tried to replicate their their play style a bit. Any sort of pros that you really looked up to?
I mean, I've always had some idols, but it's like I really like Shox and Kineas. I still do.
Legends.
I
Yeah.
think they were, yeah, definitely legends. But um, I would say because of my YouTube, I had like uh, always a lot of people doubting my ability. So I
Sure.
actually don't think I got so many opportunities at the beginning. I had to basically learn everything myself because I didn't have anyone experienced that I was playing with. When I joined
Sure.
Sprout, like the people were more experienced there, but before that, before I got onto my first pro team, I was always playing with people that had sort of the same experience level as me, and
Yeah.
um, it was yeah, it was tough. It was harder to learn that way, I think.
Yeah. I can imagine. It's sort of that's what you'd expect in that sense, really. So I guess another sort of thing is like, what was it like in the Danish scene? It's a powerhouse scene. It's seen as arguably one of the best, if not the best scenes. What was it like coming through in that sort of scene? You got just some. You mentioned you played with Magisk and Config. If you look at them
Yeah,
now, smashing it. I mean, that scene is
yeah.
just stacked full of talent. What was it like coming through in that scene?
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly also a good question. The thing with Magisk, it was like he was just insane,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
So he deserved all his opportunities. The same with Config, basically, but also more so with Config, it's that he has like a personality which I think is like I don't know how I can say it, but he's like a super nice guy,
yeah.
but also a bad boy, if that makes sense. Like
Okay.
you get the feeling that he's like a super fun guy to hang around with because
Yeah,
he is like he's a great guy. He's super
yeah.
fun, he's hilarious and all those things and full of energy.
Mhm.
But you also got a feeling that he's like I don't know what you can even describe it as. Like there's not anything personal to him, right? But I see it a little bit as like super nice for the guys
Yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe not so nice towards the girls, right? Um,
Okay, a bit of a
I don't know
player,
if
bit
it's
of a
that how it is,
player.
but yeah, I would say, yeah,
Okay.
maybe like calling him a player is like a good thing. I don't even know if that's true, but you had this feeling that that's his personality, right? And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
actually, and it's such a stupid thing, but I think actually it's easier to get a team if you are that type of personality,
Okay.
especially before you go pro,
Yeah.
because um, I at least know that I had some teammates who we were a little bit outcasts, me as well, because I was
Sure.
doing YouTube and people didn't see me as more than a YouTuber and like,
Yeah,
haha,
yeah.
this guy is like, you know. So I was kind of a lot of time playing with the outcasts, I felt like, and
Sure.
I know that there were people that lost opportunities to the fact that this guy has a weird personality or we don't
Right.
like him or something.
Yeah.
But if you were kind of like one of the cool kids, uh,
You've
I
got
think
those
it's easier to get a
opportunities.
team. Yeah,
Right. Okay. So networking is like a really big thing in terms of you've got to have, you got to be very good at the game, but like when it comes to your social side of things, you've got to also really work on that in that sense. If you want to, so like for example, young pros coming through, they should also, as well as being really good at the game, they should also be able to sort of have these sort of social aspects about them, so they don't get these sort of negative lights on them, like you say.
yeah. I mean, I honestly, for me personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with being weird. Like,
Yeah.
personality should not factor too much in unless you're like an asshole, right?
Yeah.
But it's just more that I guess they are just uh, how can maybe I can even use like a footballing example,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
I just feel like a person with like a Cristiano Ronaldo personality
Hmm.
has a bigger likelihood of actually getting on a good team, so to say, than a Messi type personality
Yeah.
because just a quiet guy who whatever. If he puts up the numbers, it's great. But if you have like a guy who puts up the numbers, but who also seems like a super insanely nice guy to
Yeah.
hang out with, and like,
So cool as
you'll be able
well.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, like has some kind of, I don't know. I honestly don't, but I feel like that's the case. But when you get to the pro level,
Hmm.
it becomes way more about like, okay, how good are you actually at the game? And that's why,
Yeah.
like, not to discount anything that someone like Config has achieved
Yeah.
because the guy is crazy good, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think he also had a lot of extra opportunity at the start, whereas someone like Meg we just picked him up because we saw he was insane in matchmaking. Like we
Sure.
randomly
Sure.
met him, right?
Oh,
And
you
then,
randomly met him, and that was the sort of start.
yeah, but he was just so sick. And then after that, the opportunities he got, I felt like it was 100% strictly talent. Like, not saying that he is like weird or has a bad personality or something,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have that like player vibe,
Yeah, yeah, I get what you
which
mean.
I think, yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird thing, but I think kind of that was a little bit of a problem in Danish scene. And I think it was you needed really to kind of network or at least be friends with the right people.
Yeah.
I still think I have had also recently um, opportunities wasted with Danish teams simply because I'm maybe not playing as many five stack faces with other pro players as I could,
Sure.
because people to some extent, especially when they play unsalaried, would rather play with their friends. And it's like
Yeah.
fair enough. It could also be down to talent, and
Mm.
maybe I'm just wrong, but I think that's like I don't know, a little bit of a tangent, but I just think it's
Sure.
funny. I don't know how it is in other scenes, but that's why it was like super tough for me in the Danish scene because people just saw me as a YouTuber and
Yeah.
like I was kind of playing with the outcasts, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Would you say in like not even just a Danish scene, just in general CS, especially I guess you could say from like tier 3 coming into tier 1, like that whole kind of massive group. Would you say politics plays quite a big factor as like a new guy trying to get into the scene, or not even a new guy, anyone trying to get into a team? Do you think politics plays like quite a big factor? As you mentioned, sort of personalities, that kind of thing, but the other side of things with politics and sort of who you know, not what you know, in that kind of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it's also just that if you have a personality that people don't like, they don't want to work with you. And I
Yeah.
think that's, to be honest, fair enough, but that's sort of both the issue, but also the issue that's being worked on, but also the issue that's being worked on wrong with
Ah,
like
okay.
currency is that when you're playing at the low level, people pick personality. There's an in-game leader, he's picking people he likes to play with,
Yeah.
That makes sense. And maybe sometimes he will give a chance to a guy who's really popping off because I don't know this guy, let's try him out.
Sure.
Um, when you get to the like higher levels of CS, maybe even the top level, you typically have like a general manager or coach who is now setting the team, and then the
Right.
personalities don't get taken into account as much because
Makes
someone is
sense.
just saying this guy's great, we need him, and it's way more
Sure.
business minded, which typically gives better results, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I also do think that because you work so much in Counter Strike, you practice so much, you spend 8 hours every day together.
Yeah.
That's where the problem is also being fixed a little bit wrong because now the power has been taken from the players
Sure.
and
Sure.
they are being made to play with people they maybe don't like, and that can give negative results. So
Especially
it's
eight
like
hours a day with someone you don't like. That would be
and
horrible, right?
traveling and everything, right?
God, you can't imagine anything worse, right?
Yeah, and that's why like when it goes good in a team, it's great, but when it goes bad and the personalities also don't line up,
Yeah.
you have a problem. So Yeah.
Have you personally ever had, like, not even in terms of yourself, but being on a team where you've had the sort of big personality clashes where sort of the team hasn't worked based on personalities themselves?
Um, I would say I've had at least times where there has been difference of opinion.
Okay, sure.
And I am definitely also a pretty vocal guy, so I can also like be. I have definitely had teams where I would say the personality have clashed, where I have
Sure.
been one of the guys in that clash.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. There are some people that I have played with who I would say like they sound so harsh, but there are some people that I would say are like bad people who if I
Okay.
didn't know them from Counter-Strike, I wouldn't socialize with them because
Right. I get what you mean.
the way they behave on the stories they tell, let's say,
Hmm.
things they've done in the past, I just
Yeah.
don't agree with that, you know.
I get
And
what you mean.
so if these were people that I didn't like hadn't worked with or formed some kind of connection, um, I wouldn't talk to them basically. But
Makes sense.
I I have also had times where it's simply just a difference of opinion, and that
Yeah. Yeah.
like it was a Nord event, for example. Me and HS we had some troubles or
Sure.
like difference of opinion. We were arguing a lot,
Mm.
but at the end of the day, I've only met him once, and the first
Sure.
thing he did was come over and give me a big hug because
There we go.
I don't know, like I actually really like the guy. He seems like such a cool person, and
Yeah.
I would really like to hang out with him. Like he's a nice guy. We
Mm.
just didn't work in a team because we just differ in opinion, and that's
Yeah.
all right, you know.
Yeah, it happens as well. In CS of all kind of things, that you can kind of imagine that you get on as friends, but like in the game, you have different views of where you want the team to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I see it at least.
Yeah. So what drew you to sort of CS:GO over other games when you were growing up? You know, there's League of Legends, Dota, Rainbow Six. I mean, even now I guess Valorant. What kind of drew you to CS:GO over all the kind of multitude of multiplayer games there was?
Well, I always played games basically, and I played basically like FIFA, but then also a lot of
Yeah.
MMORPGs. The MMORPGs I actually never like World of Warcraft, RuneScape, those kind of things. I never
Yeah.
played them competitively. I
Sure.
never raided in World of Warcraft. Whenever I would get to a high level, I would make
Yeah.
a new character, kind of.
Okay. Sure.
Um, yeah, so I actually never got like any of the competitive aspect of those kind of games.
For sure.
But when I started playing CS, yeah, something just changed. I thought the game was super fun, and I
There we go.
played like a lot of Condition Zero with friends,
Yeah. Yeah. That's old
just like
school.
community servers and stuff. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really sick. I didn't even play 1.6 because I hadn't. I was one of the guys that didn't get the memo that that was apparently the cool game to
The cool.
play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was playing Condition Zero and yeah, having a good time with friends and so on. And then eventually I got a good enough PC that I could play Counter-Strike Source. So then I
Sure.
switched to that because again I didn't get the memo that 1.6 was the cool game, and
Yeah.
that one had better graphics. So I thought, okay, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I played that. Yeah, I think I have like 3.5k hours in that. So
Wow.
it was like
Yeah.
I was playing that like Counter-Strike quite a bit. And then when Go came out, I actually quit Counter-Strike for like
Okay.
half a year to a year, where I didn't really touch it at all. I didn't like the new game, but
Sure.
then I went back to it, and yeah, I don't know. I kind of liked it. Then
Yeah.
matchmaking ranks got introduced and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
I had a goal. It started getting competitive, and
Get to global.
it was
That was
fun.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And then cases came, so started like doing openings, making videos and
Yeah.
stuff. It was a good time. So I guess I just always played Counter Strike quite a bit, and it's the one game where I just never get tired of it.
Keeps you
Um,
enticed, and that's what you want from a game,
yeah,
isn't it? Really. Yeah. So
yeah, for sure.
let's talk about sort of recent events. Of course, you've done like quite recently quite a lot of standing work, but you've had sort of standing work at that tier 1 level. You know, Complexity, the most
Yeah,
recent one. I mean, that's a huge one that sort of came out of nowhere. But when I heard about it, obviously everyone was like, "This is amazing," right? And you stood in,
yeah,
played well as well. So how was that? You know, you've had a decent amount of standing work in your time as well. You were with Vikings for a while. I don't know if that was in terms of standing, but it was a few months you were with Vikings where you were kind of
yeah,
playing with them ish, and then you went off and did your own thing. But what's it
yeah.
been like in terms of your recent events? I guess Complexity, the main one.
Oh yeah, well, it's just been good. Like it's kind of a funny story. I think most people know what happened with Config and his hand, which was super
Yeah.
unfortunate. I was actually seeing my family for the first time since yeah, it was the first time in 2021. So it was the first time in
Oh,
9 months.
yeah.
I went home for my own birthday to
Yeah.
celebrate, and we had like family over and everything. Then, I mean, as if it was a movie, almost when we're cutting the cake, basically,
Yeah.
I get a text from Istag, like Patrick, and he says, "Hey, do you want to come to Serbia with us?" And then I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then he tells me that, yeah, something happened, and they need someone, and they need someone who can just like they had, I think, when they wrote me, they had 8 hours until the roster lock for Pro League.
Oh
They needed to lock
wow.
someone in immediately, so they were pressing me for answers, and I, had to figure out if I could cancel my plane and if everything, and
Right.
it
Yeah.
was like really a mess because I had my girlfriend with me, but her
Right.
parents were not at home and stuff like that. So like I needed to coordinate 8 million things and so on in a very short time. So I basically left my own party and I almost didn't come back basically because I was just fixing to see if it was possible. And then
Yeah.
they didn't answer for a few hours and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, it's not gonna happen. But then they had been practicing, I guess, with config for the last day, playing the
Sure.
practices out, and then. I said I had said to Blame F at that point, like, hey, I understand if you pick someone else. Like, I can see it's been a while, but otherwise, just know I'm ready if you need me. And
Mm.
then the only thing he just wrote was, "We want the glue."
There we
So, yeah, then yeah, they got me on a plane fairly fast. I made sure
Nice.
to text config when I was in the airport that I'll put my phone away now. I won't slip and damage my hand, just so he knew that I was
Yeah.
safe. And then. Yeah, I just went on with it and had a great time.
And
They're
how
really
was
nice
it
guys.
sort of playing with them? I mean, you had some very good performances. Like for standing in as well on like such short notice. You mentioned 8 hours of the roster log. You stood it,
Yeah.
and it looked for the most part pretty seamless. Coming into it, obviously, you didn't have a lot of time. Probably not too much time practice wise as well. What was it like in terms of your roles? Did they kind of leave you to do your own thing, or were you slotting into the roles that Config had prior? How did they kind of play out for you?
I mean, on T side, I had basically conflicts roles,
Sure,
which was fine with me because that's kind of the star player roles. So it's a
sure,
little bit different when you come in as a stand-in because it's a little harder to, um, at least I think, take map control, for example, super aggressively because
yeah,
you don't want the whole round falling apart because a stand is making too many plays. That just
sure,
feels ridiculous, right? If
yeah,
it's a config who's been there for a while, is like putting up great numbers for a long time, it makes more sense to have like a lot of aggressive plays. But for me, I think that's also why Blame F took over so much of the entrying and had that like insane entry stat because
yeah,
I ended up in a more supportive role for him,
sure,
and he ended up kind of stepping more forward. And um, I think it's easier to do that as the in-game leader when you've been on the team for 2 years and stuff like that. I
yeah,
thought as a stand-in, I don't want to be the guy going out and making all the plays.
makes sense.
So yeah, like for the T side, I slotted in his roles, and many of them were quite easy. He was not throwing many nades,
Sure,
so only the new tactics we added after his injury were like ones where I had to, let's say, go sell a solo fake and throw a lot of nades and stuff like that
right, yeah,
because I'm pretty good with nades, I would say.
sure,
Um, and then yeah, on CT side there were some maps I had like the same positions, but also Mirage, for example, they told me EasyTech is also new. You can pick between B, house, and short.
sure,
And short is way more the star player position. It's a pretty good role for putting up the numbers, but
sure,
it's the only role basically on Mirage I've never played. So I said I would prefer not to have short, and then
makes sense.
they said like that's perfect because EasyTech would rather play short. So
There we go. Easy.
yeah, it was easy. So it's like um, I would say um, I played better on the T side as well because the CT roles were kind of hard. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, like I don't know. Honestly, I just had a great time. They were all really supportive, and I think I improved like every game. At the start, it was a bit rough, but
Yeah,
as I got into the groove, it had been 1 year since I had last played like tier one opposition,
mm.
and that was with complexity also, but a
Yeah.
completely different lineup. So
I was gonna say so
it
many changes since then.
yeah. So like it was a lot to go in and have to like perform at a really high level, but I think I ended up in like I was in a more supportive play style in the sense that I was definitely willing to go out and die for free.
Yeah,
And I said many times like if there's a smoke and someone needs to jump through it, just let me do it, because um yeah, why not?
you'll take
Like
it.
everyone else is super in match form, playing their normal roles.
Yeah,
like skill ceiling higher than me, like they've been playing at a higher level than me. Like, who am I to come in here and play
Yeah.
for stats and play for myself, and then we lose all the matches because I want to like prop up my future career? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not how I am. So yeah, I just went in there with the thought that I'll do whatever I can to win. I'll hype up the guys, and yeah, I was really surprised we made playoffs. Honestly, that was the real big goal, and we did, and we almost beat Vitality, who went
He's gonna
into the
say
final. So yeah,
crazy game against Vitality.
yeah,
What is it like as well after such a long time playing against that level again? And you mentioned it was kind of it been a year since you played against like you know sort of tier one
yeah.
regularly. I mean that must have been a bit of a step up, a bit of a bit of a shock to the system, I guess, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is just that I feel so insanely, I don't know, I just fit so well in with Isatek, Blamef, and Peacemaker. Like,
Yeah.
so I feel like the first matches maybe I had a bit of nerves,
Sure.
but after that they just disappeared. Like, I just didn't even worry about it, and
That's really good.
yeah, I thought it was really good. And I had a great talk with like a sports psychologist that they work with, a guy called Edward, who was like
Sure.
really knocking it into my head that hey, I was here, and it was I was. They were all blessed that I even had time to come because it was so short notice. There was absolutely no pressure.
Yeah.
Like he gave me many good like sentences I still carry around with me now. One of them
Brilliant.
being like, yeah, I can share this one because I think it's great, honestly. That like, um, I, I, we were just talking about nerves because that's usual when it's a stand-in. Like that's
For
the
sure.
main thing, probably. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to fuck up. And then he was like, well, is it gonna be your last game tomorrow? Then I was like, no, it's not gonna be my last game. I mean, if we lose, maybe it's my last game at this event with complexity, right?
Yeah.
Because at least the last one that matters, because then we would not
For sure.
make playoffs, let's say. And then he said, yeah, okay, but if it's not your last game, then I guess this is still practice. And it's like, yeah, okay,
That's
you know
pretty.
what?
That's
That's a
good.
good, yeah. So
I
just
like that.
like, okay, every game that's not the last of my career, that's just practice leading up to the future.
There we go. I
And
like that. That's
then,
actually a very good, like, positive kind of mindset about things.
yeah, I think so. I immediately just did this like three times back
Nice.
with the chair, completely relaxed. Yeah,
That's exactly what you want. So I guess
yeah.
the other side of things, obviously complexity, that was a sort of a very positive thing for you. A really solid
Mm,
performance in tier one after being out for quite a while. But what
thank
happened with the side, like Gorillas, for example, kind of that whole, I mean, because the whole roster really fell through. It's not really what people expected to be at all, really. And then, of course, SlingMeVikings to a degree as well. It's that when you were there, it was, I think people touted to really start to break back into the top of tier two, and it sort of never found its footing. What sort of happened with those two?
you. Well, honestly, in Lyngby, it was like, yeah, I think the team was actually quite good. I was playing really good. I think it's easy to play in a team with a good caller, which I think Bird is definitely.
I've heard you mention
Uh,
like sing his praises multiple times. Yeah,
yeah, and I think now with the coach, it must be even better to play in that team because
sure.
that's honestly the last thing he needed was a little extra experience, and now he has it.
Mm.
Um, so like for me, it was just we had a really good start, and we started losing, and
Yeah,
I felt like there was a kind of glaring flaw. There was a player who was, in my opinion, a good player, but I think there was too much stuff going out, like outside the server for him. Like
sure,
too much stuff is in his life, and at least he was just very unfocused. It felt like he made a lot of what I would call focus mistakes, where
sure.
you can tell the guy knows what he should be doing, but he's just not
Not.
mentally there.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, and we gave him like I would say at least more than a month where it was just this every day it felt like, which was sad because he was really, I think, a good player.
Mm.
And then I went actually, I haven't said this publicly anywhere, but I went to Bird and I said like, I think we won't get insanely good before we remove this guy. And I
Okay.
like him, but he needs to go because his focus isn't here,
It's
and
not. Yeah,
sometimes you just need a break, to
sure.
reset mentally. Um, and nothing really came of it, and we just kept losing for like a couple of weeks, and I could just feel more and more that like this was just not what I wanted anymore.
Yeah,
I wanted like something bigger than that.
yeah.
And so yeah, I ended up like saying to the guys, it was really fun, but I think I need to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sucked because I actually really liked the people in that team. But I think kind of I was more competitive than them in that
Right.
team. Like I
Sure.
thought this is where now I need to turn everything around. I need to show everyone I'm insane. I was putting in a lot of individual hours and stuff, and for me it mattered a lot that they were not willing to make the necessary changes.
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say what would have happened if that had happened? Maybe it would have been a worse decision. I'm not saying that I knew 100% better than them, but that was kind of the reason why I ended up going.
Sure.
So yeah, it was my own decision, but I would have actually liked to stay. I thought I worked well in that team, and
Sure.
they had a lot of good parts, but yeah. And then Gorillas, it was like I came in. I actually think I played really good at the
Yeah, for
start.
sure.
But then they got the X-Floud, and he got all of my roles, like everything. I had to
Yeah.
change both on T and CT,
Sure.
which was pretty damn hard. And
I can imagine.
then, yeah, we still had some obligations with tournaments at the start, so we had like in 3 days or something, I had to change all my roles, and then we also had to play officials, and it was horrible, like horrible.
Yeah.
So I didn't play very well, and after that, we had like 1.5 months where we were only practicing. We even had a boot camp and stuff like that. But
Sure.
yeah, I don't know. In the end, it was just it was also a little bit weird to me because I came in playing one set of roles basically, and then I changed roles when X-Cloud came in, and then
Sure.
when we went to boot camp, I don't know why, but out of nowhere they told me, okay, now at this boot camp you're playing AWP, and I don't think
Oh.
people know that, but I was playing AWP at the boot camp. Super weird. So for like a
Yeah.
week there, I was playing AWP. Don't know why. Um, and it wasn't lucky, and it was no one's fault. But they had like a lot of PCs, but a lot of them didn't work. So I ended up
Damn.
playing the boot camp primarily on my gaming laptop and stuff like that. So it was like
It's not what you want at all.
no, and that was like I knew this would be the last thing before the break, and this would be what I would be judged on. So I thought it was
Yeah.
really it
Tough.
was a weird situation for me. I'm not quite sure why they even brought me to boot camp because it felt like with me changing the roles so late and stuff, it was like and then I didn't even get a chance to actually show what I was made of because uh, yeah, of things out of their control basically. 3 of the pieces or something came with broken graphics cards or something ridiculous. So
Damn.
yeah, that's not something they can do, but it missed my chances up a little bit. But it's possible they would have made the same decision.
Regardless. Completely.
Honestly, yeah, honestly, like it felt like personality-wise, I fit in pretty well in that team.
Sure.
I enjoyed playing there, but at the same time, I was not super sad that I wasn't in because I think I was ready to try something new when
Sure.
that happened. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But
That makes sense.
yeah.
So you could sort of you spoke about how you've done quite a lot of stunning work recently. You know, you've done complexity. You've played sort of stints with Gorillas, SlingMeVikings, etc. You've kind of been dotted around the scene, especially tier 2 and tier 1. But what's next for you? What's coming through? You mentioned briefly earlier you got a couple of offers on the table, but what is next for you? You know, you've proved that you can play at tier 1, so surely, you know, it seems like for me on an outside,
Mhm.
of course, I sort of know we spoke before about a year ago or whatnot, but it seems to me like I always thought you are someone who should have been in tier 1. You should be playing regularly in a competitive team. So what is next? How come we haven't seen you yet
Mhm.
officially picked up?
Ooh, well, honestly, I don't know what's really next, but I know what I would like next is that I just honestly I don't even need like a tier 1 team or even tier 2 team. I'm ready to build myself up from the bottom because
Sure.
um I I know that I can do it basically. Like
Mm.
I know I'm good enough, so I just need the time basically, and that's what
Sure.
I had hoped that Nordavind was back in the day. That it was like a stable place where the roster would be kind of the same. I would be given time to, if I wasn't good in the first month because I had been
Sure.
out of teams for a long time, then I could at least build that up over time. But after like 1.5 months, our in-game leader got injured and he never came back. So I took
Damn.
over the in-game leader duties and stuff like that, and it was just not stable at all.
Sure.
So that's what I already wanted back then, you know, and that's
Mm.
what I still want is a team where from day one, preferably. I mean, we could go for a trial first, let's say, but But
Sure.
after a trial, then we start playing officials. I am on contract from day one,
Sure.
and the roster doesn't change. We get to like actually sit down and just work and just not care about anything other than just sitting down and working. I don't want to change my goddamn roles all the time.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough, put me in some weird ass role, I can play it all.
Yeah.
But then, like in complexity, give me a weird ass role and give me time.
Sure. Sure.
But I'm just so insanely done with joining a team and then having some roles and then because it's also super demotivating to go and watch demos of a position and then 1 week later you're playing a new position and then you have to go and watch demos of that and then
Again. Yeah.
1 month later you're playing all new roles again and then it's like have I just been wasting my time?
Yeah.
Like how can
Exactly.
you ever improve like that? You can maybe improve on like the sharpness of your aim and so on, but it feels like a waste if you have to spend so much time watching demos and like improving your position and like all those things. So I don't even too much care. Like I would definitely prefer AWPing
Yeah.
or IGLing, but I'm even like open for most things. It's just I want a team, I want a contract, I want to sit down and I want to work, and I want
Work.
just everyone else to shut the fuck up, and then
Nice.
give me the chance to
Yeah.
give me 2 or 3 months, and if I'm not good, then give me a little bit more time, and if I am not like insanely sick after 6 months, then throw me to the curb and I'll happily retire. But
Mm.
like honestly, I just want an opportunity with stability where I can
Sure.
work over a longer period of time for the same goal every time, and then yeah, that's
So,
what I want.
for you, would you be more than happy to build a team like around yourself from scratch? Let's say maybe an org backing you, but from scratch. Would you be absolutely happy with that?
Yeah, but exactly what you said, the org begging you is a
The
kind
big
of
bit.
must because um, I want to be as professional as possible, and to me, being as professional as possible is having a work day that is during the regular hours.
Sure.
So if you
Yeah.
have an unsalaried team, mostly you will have to play in the evening, and
Yeah.
I think that's uh, I am at an age now where that's just not appealing anymore.
It's like two
Um,
jobs as well, because if you're
exactly.
unsalaried, you have to get some sort of income and then work
Yep.
on CS. So it is you
Exactly.
you have like 60-hour weeks basically.
Yeah, and there's just no space for social life. Then it's just
Yeah.
not that won't make me happy. So I want to be
Exactly.
able to balance both. It should be possible to have CS as a job and a life past CS.
Exactly. And I mean, you have a fiance as well, right? So
Yeah,
gotta
exactly.
see
So
her at some point.
yeah, that's the thing. And she works during the day like normal people. So
Yeah.
I would also prefer that. Yeah. But I'm
Nice.
fine with giving away like weekends and I'm happy with sacrificing things for CS and flying around the world and shit. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm asking for too much, but yeah, having an org begging you is just a must because
What do you think?
yeah,
Yeah.
there needs to be some kind of income. This also makes it more serious and you lock the players into contracts so you again can get the stability and sit down and work. And yeah, that's really important to me.
There we go. Sounds good. So, well, that's all the CS ones done. Let's talk about now you. So, outside of esports, outside of CS:GO, obviously, it's the main thing for you. But what are your sort of hobbies outside of CS:GO? Let's say. Whether sports. You mentioned. I think you mentioned you use a bit of football. I know you really like your RuneScape as well. So I guess that
Yeah,
counts as well. But what are your sort of
definitely.
hobbies outside of CS:GO?
Well, as it is right now, I'm living with my fiance
Mm,
in the Netherlands, so it's hard for me to really have hobbies because
sure.
I just don't have any network or any friends. Don't know anything here.
Sure.
And it's also like limited what you can do when you don't even. I understand the language, but I don't speak it.
Right. Sure.
So it's a little harder. Most of my hobbies, I guess, are just on a PC. Like
Sure.
I just let's say play a game of RuneScape or a game of something else. A lot of the time, I um, actually do play games with my fiance as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a gaming laptop, which I use to like, yeah, sometimes play CS, sometimes play like Dead by Daylight. Lately,
Good
my
game. No, I like that
my
one.
my girlfriend is
Yeah.
just completely obsessed with Fortnite for some reason, so we're playing that quite
Oh
a bit.
no.
Yeah, I hate it, but gotta keep her happy. So yeah, but I mean, if I was in Denmark, and I had friends close, I would be playing like way more football, for example.
Sure.
Right now, I'm also going to the gym.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's like I wouldn't call that a hobby because I'm not. I'm going there, and that's it. Like I
Yeah.
don't. eat for it. I don't like have a super insane schedule or something like that. But I go there to feel good, and then yeah, it's like what it is. But it's not an interest to me.
I
I
think,
just go there and run
to be fair,
and
with
lift weights.
CS:GO, I think one of the biggest things that you do see to a degree is some players and some, well, I mean, not even players. I mean, a lot of people involved in CS:GO and any esports. To be honest, they spend a lot of time, focusing on the game, right, which is great, but they don't really focus on their health outside of it. I think that's a big factor
Yeah,
that you see. So, just to go to the gym, it's such a minor thing. Obviously, you mentioned you're
yeah,
not like massively going crazy, eating like, insane, but it's just a healthy thing, which I feel like a lot of players really miss out on because they just sit at their computer
yeah,
all day.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I mean, I did it before Corona, and I didn't really do it during Corona, but now
Yeah,
I'm doing it again because things have opened up. But yeah, it's not fanatically or something. It's just
yeah,
for my own sake.
yeah, exactly. So, what was it like growing up in Denmark? It was obviously I've been myself a couple of times. It's a very nice country. I've only been to Copenhagen and then Baden, it's called, right? Baden. It's like so I don't know. It's near. You can see Sweden across the water. That's roughly that area.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm
Baden,
not
right?
too familiar with that, but it could be.
It's like
Possibly it
a
can be a big
theme
city
park
if it is.
ish, theme parky
Oh,
place. Apparently, it's quite famous. Maybe my
oh,
who I went with said
may
it was quite good, but
okay, yeah. I
it's
don't
quite
know. For
nice.
some reason, I'm not familiar, but yeah, maybe if I read it, maybe I would be like, oh, of course. I
Do you
don't
know? I
know.
probably completely butchered how you pronounce it.
Yeah, that could be it. I'm not sure.
um,
Now I'm curious as well.
I'm gonna look it
How do you
up.
spell it?
That's the thing I don't know. It's either like Barden or like Bargain, something like that in Denmark. Oh, okay. I'm gonna look it up. Denmark theme park. Oh, Bakken. Bakken.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
There we go.
okay. Then I know what it is.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
the one.
fair enough. So it's not a city or something. Fair enough. Yeah,
No, yeah,
I
I
think
can.
I've been there as well. Yeah. No, I know that place.
So
Yeah,
they're the
Bakken.
two places I've been to, yeah.
Yeah.
But Bakken
Okay.
and Copenhagen. But obviously, it's a very nice
Okay.
country. So what was it
Yeah.
like growing up? That was a massive detour there. What was it
Yeah,
like
no,
growing
that's
up?
fine. Well, yeah. I don't know. I think it's just great. Like, I I have like always had a how can I say pretty comfortable
Mhm.
life. My parents have always both basically had jobs and stuff.
Sure.
So I've not had to worry about too much and like I wouldn't say that it's like everything that I've asked for I've always gotten or something,
Mhm.
but it's just we've never struggled for money,
Sure. Yeah.
which is like a pretty big deal because
For
if you
sure.
want to do something where you have to risk it by doing something on salary for a long time,
Yeah.
it helps to have kind of some support network. Like
Mm.
I would never want to rely on that, and it's not like I ever asked my parents for money, but
Sure.
it's just more like it gives you a little bit of security, I guess,
Exactly.
that yeah, I don't know actually even, but at least it's just like if we were not able to pay rent, if like, let's say my parents weren't or whatever, like that's
Yeah.
obviously much tougher.
For sure.
And yeah, for me, both of my parents are engineers, so they
Oh,
have
okay.
gone kind of the normal route, I
Yeah.
would say, of taking like an education and stuff. So for me personally, there was just uh like I always cared a lot about their opinion and like making them
Mhm.
proud. So for me, there was just never really any other possibility than me also going to like university and getting like a degree and stuff like that. But yeah, things ended up differently. But I mean, I did go to university for half a year at some
Sure.
point. Um, but so yeah, honestly, I just felt like I had a pretty worry-free life.
Nice.
We were quite comfortable. I had a house with a nice roof, and we had heat in the
There we go.
yeah, everything. I honestly don't have so much bad to say. I just had a good time, and
That's it.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
And I guess
Yeah.
another thing you mentioned about you kind of you lived a comfortable life in that sense, and your parents you always sort of there. How big was it sort of with your parents and trying to convince them that actually you want to be a professional CS:GO player? Did it take a bit of convincing to get them on board, or were from the get go were they supportive?
I mean, I think I was lucky that I had my YouTube first because
Sure.
um, not that that's what my parents or me care super much about. It's just that at the beginning it was a hobby, and then I started making money, and then when I started making money, um, it's like yeah, you know, things change. They just see it in a different light. So like
Exactly.
yeah, I just guess that was kind of it for me. And then I went to them and said that like I want to give this 2 years where I'm full time.
Sure.
And if I don't make it, then I don't make it, and then I go back to like a regular life.
Sure.
And that was when I went through the like it must have then been I guess 19 months or something. It was cutting it quite close, but I didn't make it at the end. So
There you go.
yeah, I guess like that helped as well that I gave them some sense of security that I wouldn't be chasing this dream for 10 years if it would never happen, you know.
Exactly.
Because there are some people that do that, and yeah, I mean people can do whatever they want with their lives, but I
It's
just don't want to get
yeah.
stuck. So yeah.
And stuck with like sort of no skills. But I guess the other side of the thing is like, so you know, if CS:GO for you was to no longer like, let's say your professional career, you were done, you were retired, you've done and dusted. What would be the sort of next steps for you? Would you consider a coaching role, or I guess probably for you, content creation's like one of your real kind of big things. You stream a lot, which is always very successful. Whenever I've come in and tuned in, there's always quite a few people watching, and you know, as you mentioned, YouTube as well. You can make money off both of them. Would that be for you what you'd kind of focus on after you've kind of retired from the competitive CS:GO?
Yeah, honestly, that's the thought because I don't know how long my career will last. Like it depends obviously on what kind of office I get and how I'm playing and stuff. But
Sure.
I really like the game, and I think no matter what, I would be like a caster or a coach or I should
Sure.
say like maybe a streamer or a YouTuber or whatever. It's to me it's not so important. I just like it a lot. But I think no matter what I end up doing, I would probably still go to university and like get a degree on the
Okay.
side.
Sure.
Because I mean, you maybe know it as a caster. It's like at least if you start casting like the bigger events,
Mm.
you can go for even short trips, or like you can work maybe even a few times a month, and then
Yeah.
you actually make enough money that you can live quite comfortably off of that.
Mm.
So it would be nice to like do that, let's say part time kind of, and then study part time. So then you
That's
kind of have the
exactly what I
income, but
do.
you also have the yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so
so
I'm
that's
at
I think this
university and then I
yeah
cast. So and I
yeah
make enough of commentary that I can live off it and pay my rent, do whatever I
yeah
want. So it's like
exactly
the perfect sort of part time job. And I guess for me, like
yeah
maybe after university, if then when I have more time, because I'm in my final year now, so
yeah
then I can maybe full time commit to it, and then we can see what happens there. So maybe the same for
yeah
you, like a time frame. I'm sort of the same shoes you're in, essentially, where like
yeah.
to my parents, I'm trying to say like, oh, okay, let me give this like a year, let me just see what happens. So
Yeah.
I'm the same
I see.
position, but the other side of this. So you're in the server and I'm on the mic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in you mentioned sort of growing with Denmark was really nice. All those things were great, but what does a daily routine look like for you? Whether it's in Denmark or I guess Netherlands, sort of what would a daily routine look like for you? And maybe do one where it's just a normal day at the moment, I guess, and then one day where it includes an official. Maybe you have like a specific warm up routine. I know some people like to say that they like to go for a walk before they go into the server, stuff like that. So it could be like one with just a normal day, and then one with an official in it.
Well, I think for me it's just always the same. That like I try
Okay,
to do like plan kind of my meals so that it fits, so that I
sure,
have energy. Let's say if it's an official, I will eat shortly before, like not maybe 5 minutes before, let's say, but like 30 minutes before, and then
sure,
eat good so that I have energy for the whole best of three.
yeah,
Um, maybe an hour before or something, maybe even a few hours before, but at least give myself enough energy.
sure,
And the same with like if it's practice, I will try to eat obviously breakfast before we start, and then I will have a break in the middle, and there I will eat some lunch, and then be done with it, you know.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like uh, what I always just do is I just play 1 hour of deathmatch or some kind of in practice before. So if it's an official, then sometimes teams like to have a warm-up practice, but then I will do like 1 hour deathmatch before the warm-up practice, then
sure,
do one warm-up practice, and then do the official. If
right,
it's just regular practice, I will do 1 hour of deathmatch before the regular practice. So
makes
yeah, that's
sense.
honestly pretty simple. Like I just like putting in 1 hour of in practice before. Feels like it gets my aim sharp, and also over time, um, it really improves your aim a lot, I think.
And that's what you need essentially in that sense. So I know you're already in a position, sort of, you mentioned where you kind of you make money off your YouTube, your Twitch in that sense, and of course the hope is to go into that professional kind of thing. You want to be in a full time. What does a sort of a lifespan look like for you? How long do you think you've got sort of left in you in terms of where you'd want to be playing pro? And some people like to say like roughly around the 30 mark they cut off. I mean, I think that's kind of loose. I don't think 30 in my eyes is people say that's like old in CS:GO. I don't normally agree with that, but for you, what would you say is like your cutoff where you'd say, you know, I've hit 30 or 35 and now I'd probably be done by then?
I don't know if I really like. I've never really put much thought into that. I just take it like one day at a time.
Sure.
I think you can definitely go beyond 30, even at a really good level if you are an IGL, and that's also why, like
Sure.
now that I'm getting a little bit older, I know I have a lot of experience to give. So I might as well start thinking of becoming an IGL and like leading a team,
Yeah.
because that can also increase like the longevity of your career. Um, So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily that just when I turn 30, then I'm just like, okay, I'm done. Maybe
Yeah.
more like the 35 or 33, but it all depends on offers. At the same time, I also feel like I could just not wake up tomorrow, but maybe in 1 year, maybe in 2 years, maybe in half a year, I'll just say, you know what, I'm just done.
Done.
But it
Yeah.
all depends on what happens in my career, because
Sure.
like if I have offers and if I'm enjoying it and stuff like that, then I will keep at it. But I'm also the type of guy where first I had my YouTube and my Twitch, and that went really well. So I like did that a lot, and then I found out, you know what, I want to be a professional. And then I completely dropped that on the floor, focused only on being pro,
Yeah.
and then I just know someday it will come that I'm just thinking, you know what, it's just not fun anymore, and then I will probably just completely drop that
Mhm.
and pick up something new and try to become the best at that. So
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah. So for you, why this is a sort of a slight question that I'm just interested in myself, because I think everyone has like a sort of a different story around it. How did you get the name NaToSaphiX? Where's the origins for that? How did it's so original? Like, where's that come from?
There's actually a Reddit post about it, but
Okay.
basically there was like an MTV program with women playing Counter-Strike when I was a
Okay.
kid.
Sure.
Really weird. Don't know
Okay.
why. And one of them was called Ne0, so I just stole that. And then
Nice.
there was like a game that I bought super cheap, like used and everything, called like Warlords 4 or something, like a strategy game.
Okay.
And they had randomly generated hero names, and one of them
Sure.
was like Venge or Sapphics or something. Then just thought like, okay, this Sapphic sounds cool,
NATO.
this Ne0 sounds cool, just put it together. So yeah.
That's I think everyone has different stories. That's one of the most like original ones I've heard. Like,
Yeah, I don't even know. I was, yeah, 10 or 11, and it was also like I wanted to get an X or a Z in there because that just looked cool. So
yeah.
when I saw the Sapphics, it was like, oh my god, there's an X there.
Boom.
This,
There we
yeah,
go.
yeah,
I guess so. You mentioned sort of briefly earlier about you have a lot of experience to give. Would you ever consider being a coach? You've
yeah,
played in a lot of teams. You've got a lot of experience. Is that something that you've like actually genuinely taken the time to consider?
yeah, absolutely. I think uh, in some ways I would be a better coach than I would be a player as well. Like I
Okay,
really believe that kind of the same as Cyclone.
sure.
Like he was also a good player, good IGL, all those things, but he is kind of transcended now that he's become a coach for Mouse Sports Academy. It seems like from the outside.
Yeah,
And
they're
I
great.
think like at least in recent times, like I would not agree with this directly. Sorry, a
So
little bit
good.
ill, but
I'm with you.
like when you look at my complexity and my heroic and so on, like I'm also good at taking these roles where I'm supportive and not really
Sure.
putting up the numbers as much, you know.
Mm.
And I think just I guess I've always thought of myself as more of a brainy player than a like
Sure.
mechanically gifted player. Even when I was at the top of my game,
Mm.
it is not like I always felt like there's so many people that are better aimers than me, but
Yeah.
I'm making the most of what I got. And like sometimes and even like periods of time, I will also have like insane 2 seconds. My girlfriend is home,
Yeah.
so I need to
Go for
grab
it.
that real quick. But yeah, I will be right back. Then I will finish the
Go
thought.
for it.
Yeah. I guess just like even when I have been like the most mechanically skilled I've ever been in my career or whatever, it's like I just always thought I was more smart than hitting hard, and I think you can reach really far. Like there are some players like Flusher. Has anyone ever thought about that guy? Like what an insane aimer!
Yeah.
I mean, he is a really good aimer, but it's just the
It's
guy
just
is
smarter.
smart, and that's yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Well, there we go.
So I think because of that, with the coaching, sorry for interrupting a
Oh,
little
no,
bit,
no,
but
no, yeah, for it.
with the coaching, it's like the mechanical skill gets completely dissolved, right? Then you're only brain, and so there, I think I'm also really good at working with people, I would say. So I
Sure.
think you can really do a lot. Yeah.
Do you know, for you, with with coach offers, have you ever kind of actually had a look at trying to pick up a coaching role at any sort of decent teams, or for the time being is focusing on the actual playing career at the moment? Have you had a look at maybe ever, at the moment, taking a coaching role if there's any available?
Nah, not currently. Like, it's something that I'm pretty sure I want to do at some point, but
In the
I'm not
future, kind of
ready
thing.
yet to give. Yeah, I want to still play.
There we go. Well, that sums up
Hmm.
sort of all of this section. And last one we've got is just the questions from Twitter and Reddit, which can be a whole
Perfect.
wild lot of everything. But we'll get those on the way. So the first one I think is a pretty good one. Who is the best player in your opinion you've ever played with?
I've actually answered this question quite a few times. I think the answer I always come up with is a tech.
No,
Yeah.
okay, that's a good one. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a player who is again sort of an up and down career, and now seems to find a bit of a cemented foot. What makes him so great?
I think the guy can just do it all. He's like me. He can do all roles, but
Mm,
he has just been playing at a bit of a higher level, and I just think
sure.
he's just always a nice guy. He's always in a good mood. He will never complain. But he is like he can take initiative. His nade usage is great. His aim is insanely clean,
Yeah,
considering that he plays basically the same sensitivity as simple, like slightly lower, but you don't see that at all.
so high.
Yeah, so like I don't know, the guy is just a monster and just great to play with, and I think he's one of the most underrated players in the whole world.
There we go. That's the perfect teammate as well. If you can do everything,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you want. So, what are your honest thoughts on Valorant? Have you given it a go? Is it something that you'd ever even consider as well? If an offer came for a Valorant team, that a genuine offer, salaried role, would it be something you consider, or is it a game you just have no part in?
I think it's actually quite fun. I haven't played it
Okay,
very much though, so I would definitely need like a few months to even pick it up. I would need to
sure.
get pretty good at it. But yeah, if there's nothing for me in CS, maybe I'll have to look elsewhere. I would prefer CS, but I think the game is quite fun. So I have thought about it, and yeah, I believe with what I've achieved in my career so far, getting like a trial at a good Valorant organization is quite easy actually. So I have put some thought into it, but
Oh,
yeah,
so you've been
I'm not
tempted a
ready
little
to.
bit.
Yeah, I mean, there has been times where I've just thought, okay, let's do it. Especially when the game came out, it was like a free for all.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, no, I think I'm sticking to CS for now. But if there are no offers, then I'll have to go. Then like the CS teams is like they're making the decision for me, right? But
There we go.
I think I should be good.
Yeah. So you talk about the best player you played with being Aztec. Who's the best player you've played against? Like because obviously Simple and Zywoo. You mentioned you played against Vitality. Fantastic players. But sometimes when you're in the server, they're not the best players there. Is there any like notable performances where you played against someone and they were just unstoppable?
I try to not really focus too much about who I'm playing against. Like I've even played matches like best of threes versus simple where he's had plus 50 or something, and he's still lost or something.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't really notice that he's carrying. I think like I've always said Saivu because he's just kind of too perfect, and
Yeah.
like it's really hard to catch him out of position. It feels like if there's a smoke, he will just shoot you through it every time. If you try to flash him, he'll just dodge it in some crazy way.
Yeah.
Like he feels more robotic than Simple. Even though I think Simple right now is the better player, I think Saibu is just impossible to play against. I hate it. So yeah, him I would say.
Fair enough. I mean, understanding why he's got the last sort of MVP from last year. I do agree. I think Simple at the moment's been better, but yeah, Zywoo, he's just ridiculous, isn't he? He's just insane. He always
Yeah,
just makes
for
something
sure.
work. So, when joining a new team, do you learn by sort of reading strats, or do you learn by scrims, etc.? So, for example, I guess you could say with complexity coming in, or even before that with SlingMeVikings and Gorillas, is it sort of for you? Do you learn better by the sort of the strat side of things, or is it just get scrims and just get the sort of experience as a team under your belt?
I think like when teams bring me in, I try to take a lot of notes and write down every role for every tactic.
Sure.
So already there you're getting like kind of into it. But then after that it's definitely playing. Like I think you should always like start your day by reading whatever maps you're playing, the strategies on
Sure.
that. But they don't really stick in my brain before I do them. So yeah.
I mean, I'm the same. Learn by doing rather than kind of just reading in that sense.
I think I'm kind of the opposite though. Like I'm more learn by reading. Um,
Oh, okay,
but
sure.
but just in this case, it's like you can keep reading it over and over and over. But what would the fun be in that? I think it's better to
Yeah,
go like on a practice server and try it out and stuff.
yeah.
So
So,
yeah.
what's your warm-up routine with the AWP?
I actually don't really have any. When I play
Okay,
deathmatch, even I don't really play the AWP at all. I just
sure.
play rifles and practice my spraying and my tapping and stuff like that. The AWP is just a little bit natural, but I guess like you could try to play scout in a deathmatch show or something like that.
That makes sense, sure. Because obviously you aim over
Yeah,
headshots then, so it's like the perfect kind of, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
For you, if you had a preference where you were joining into a team, no matter what level, and they would say you could pick whatever your role you would want. Would AWP be the primary you'd want?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be.
Over IGL.
Yes. Actually, that I'm not so sure of. If I had to pick between one or the other, I'm not so sure. For
Okay.
me, it's just like also now that I'm a little older, I would like to be in the more impactful roles. I want to be the guy, having a lot of impact on whether we win or lose.
Yeah.
And I think like AWP and IGL, that's like the two. So
Sure.
one of them.
Fair enough. That makes sense. This is a non-serious related at all. Who, in your opinion, is better, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Ronaldo for sure.
Okay. For what
But
reason?
I'm also a Real Madrid fan. So
Okay, that makes complete sense. So there,
yeah.
there we go. Um, which team, in your opinion, that you've ever played for has the best jerseys?
I think complexity actually, if I
Yeah,
could say
pretty
them,
clean.
even though it's not a I think it's clean. And plus I got a blue and a white. I think it's pretty cool to have multiple colors. Like
Nice.
yeah.
How good does it feel to have lands back?
I mean I'm not playing any of them, but I think it's great to watch. I watch. I think lately I'm watching more Counter Strike than I've ever done ever in my career. Like
Okay,
live Counter
nice.
Strike. I'm watching almost every match of the big ones.
Yeah.
And even today like I'm sat watching in SlingMeVikings. Then I'm sad watching SlingMeVikings versus some other team, and then like I'm always checking in. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm watching a lot.
Would
But
you?
they are not lands, but yeah, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah. Are we going to be seeing you at the major in person? Are you going at all?
Yeah, definitely. I'm bringing
Nice.
my fiance and my parents. So
Nice. I'll see you there.
yeah,
I'll see you there.
yeah, perfect, perfect.
um, Someone asks, how are you so attractive?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I
I
can't
don't
remember
know.
who
Like
asked
right
that
now,
actually,
I'm
but
I'm ill. I'm not shaven. I didn't do my hair or anything.
it was
So I
Riffy.
don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a guy. I know. Well, I know of that guy, let's say.
Yeah,
He's a regular on my stream.
there we
So yeah.
go. Someone asked for you. I said we kind of briefly spoke about this, but for you, when will you kind of get fed up? If like the offer doesn't come about, and let's say you're only doing standard work, when is I guess they're kind of wondering when is the quitting point for you?
I don't know. Like I wouldn't want to go back down to a point where I'm not really like I would never now, or how can I say it? I would be down to go now and play, let's say, on Salaries CS for a good team. I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind that. So it's not about the money, but I would
sure,
not want to drop down to a point where I'm playing for a salary that's called 500 euros, let's say.
sure.
Because then you're already so far down the list that dragging yourself up again is going to be almost impossible. You've already had some chances, and people have, like, you're now starting to fade away. I think it's super
Sure.
hard to stop that negative spiral. So, like, it's
Yeah.
not at all about the money, but just I wouldn't want to be playing in like a number 15 team in Denmark or something. It would be
Yeah.
too
Too hard
too
to go back
too
up.
bad for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like then it's not fun anymore. Then
Makes sense.
yeah, there's no point.
Yeah.
So
And
there's a
you
certain
destroy
limit. Yeah,
them at that level as well. You'd just be absolutely destroying them in the server.
yeah,
Yeah, it'd be
I would
so
hope.
easy.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
what part of your playstyle makes it so easy for you to slot in? I mean, we spoke about complexity. It looked so natural. Okay, at the first game, that's testing the waters. But I mean, apart from that, it looked really natural. You slotted in, the synergy was there. So, what part of your playstyle makes it so easy for you to slot in?
I don't know if it's so much my playstyle. Oh, well, I'm a pretty supportive player. I has been like I have been in some teams. I think I do a lot to make sure that my teammates are happy.
Sure.
No matter what role I'm in. And I think a lot of it is also just my personality. Like I would characterize myself as a pretty nice guy. Like I'm building good mood. I'm hyping up. I'm
Nice.
like I'm also feeling it out. Like in complexity, for example, I know that yeah, I don't actually want to use specific names because it's a little bit weird, but like I know this guy, I have
Yeah.
to go and tell him before the match, like, okay, I really need you to step up today. And then there's
Nice.
other guy, I have to give him positive feedback after the match because he
He
really
likes.
likes that,
Yeah.
stuff like that. This guy I have to hype up in the match. So I'm like
Mm.
really trying to look also at the individuals around me, like
That's good. Yeah.
how can I make them better when it's not even related to something Counter-Strike. It's just, yeah, I kind of socialize with people differently depending on how they are. So
Sure. Who's your favorite FPL player? Whether it's someone you really enjoy playing with or someone you really enjoy playing against. Who's your favorite?
I think maybe Ne0. I
Oh,
think
okay.
that guy is
How come?
really nice to play with. Always, yeah, I don't know. He's just always so friendly, and I think he has really great aim. He's an IGL, but like I think he could easily be like a star player of a good team, and
Mm.
he's as I said, always a really nice guy. Yeah, I try to always pick him if I'm the captain. So yeah.
Nice. So, if you could make one change in your career so far, what would you be? Is anything like you look back, with hindsight, they like, I wish I did something different there.
I think maybe like um with heroic, I wish I maybe would have come from another team. Like I
Okay.
maybe after Sprout, I would have um either taken like maybe I should have even turned that offer down.
Okay.
I was mentally not in a great place at the time,
Mm.
and probably wasn't ready yet to play Counter Strike, I guess.
Sure.
So like I should have maybe turned that down, and if that was not it, then I wish I would have come from another team, so I wasn't like match form already
Makes
when I came
sense.
in.
Yeah.
It would have made a big difference, I think.
Is that a big factor for as a pro CS player? The sort of mental health side of things. It's something that's not really spoken about too much, but it's obviously a really big deal. Is it something like it's definitely like it obviously must take an effect of a professional player to say the least, mental health and that kind of thing. Is that something that you think is quite a big factor?
I think I'm in general a pretty happy and yeah, happy and cheery guy, but yeah, I don't know. Just in that period of my life, there was just some things going like really wrong, and
Yeah.
I think it was just a bad spot for me. But other than that, I think it's not something that affects me all too much. I think obviously you have to be happy and
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to so on, but it's important for your performance. But for me, I haven't had like big issues with it or something.
So what level are you on RuneScape? Someone asks.
Uh, I honestly don't even know. I mean, there's so many skills, probably like 1800 total or something on my Iron Man. Yeah.
As someone who doesn't play RuneScape, is that very high? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's pretty high. Maybe it's more like 1750 total, but yeah, it's pretty high. I've played it quite a bit.
Damn.
So
Okay. Um. So what? So someone asks. So coming through as your career, your experience. What was sort of your overall experience going from the player that you used to be to now? What is the sort of the big changes that have been as a player yourself? What is sort of the big experience you've gained from whenever you started your career, years back to now, of course, the player you are? What's been the big sort of changes as you as a player?
I think I just read the game differently, honestly.
Okay.
At the beginning, I was just kind of playing like a faceit player, like playing without brain. I
Sure.
probably wouldn't be able to reason too much about why I was doing what.
Mm-hmm.
And my own reading of the game, I have recently watched some old demos of myself,
Sure.
and I just see my reactions are all off.
Right.
This smoke is coming. Okay, then I should be going into this position, but I'm just not.
Mm.
So like I've learned a lot on how to position myself to
Sure.
maximize like what I can do. Yeah.
There we go. So one of the third to last question is, what is the most important bit of advice you've ever got in your career? Normally there's one thing that sticks with people. I mean, not everyone's got this, but I mean, it's a good question.
Um,
If there's maybe one thing that sticks in your
hmm,
mind as to the most, as regarding CS, the most important like piece of advice, most important kind of conversation you've had regarding CS.
the number one that pops up in my mind is that Rizix once told me that sometimes I need to have like a calmness all the way in my mind. It sounds really
Okay.
stupid, but it's like sometimes when you play CS, it's more about like it's more than just being calm. It's
Mm-hmm.
that you have to be like completely and utterly calm.
Mm-hmm.
the way you speak, the way you move, the way you know, just like completely calm down. And after I kind of tried to improve that, I was like never nervous or something. I was just super relaxed every time I played. I think that made a big difference.
Nice. And well, our last question is, if you could make a team with obviously yourself and then you 4 other players around you, what would that dream roster be, and sort of what would the roles be? I guess for yourself, it'd be all by GL in that sense, or maybe even not. But what would your dream team be? It could be any player, FPL, any pro team, retired or not. Go for it. And they could be like retired, like long time retired as well.
I think like Glaive probably or Kerrigan.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if it was like okay, sounds a bit weird, but if it was to win,
Yeah.
I would probably take Glaive.
Sure.
But if it was like to win and for my own benefit, I would play with Kerrigan because I think that guy is really so good at setting like other people up.
Sure.
Then I would be playing Orb. Yeah, honestly, I would probably. I mean, that doesn't really make sense, but let's just run with this. I would probably put someone like Suvo on rifle.
Like who? Sorry.
Like a Saibu, or maybe even a device.
Okay.
Yeah, on a rifle because I think they're just too good to not have on a team.
They can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean maybe even a simple, but I'm not sure personality-wise. Like it might be a little bit more difficult at times. I think there might. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe a Robs or something like that.
Okay.
Insanely talented as well. Yeah, and who would we need as the last guy? I don't know even. Probably someone who's like I don't know, for the sake of it, maybe someone like Stewie, like aggressive entry fragger who also really understands team CS. Yeah, I mean he's an aggressive player, but he also understands the he's been the IGL, he has been a lot of things, so he understands like the bigger picture.
There we go. Well, that's it essentially. Thank you very much for joining. Of course, this is your perfect opportunity to, if you want to plug anything. I know you've got your clothing brand, so I mean, feel free to let the people know.
I have a nice cap here with the Ne0 Strong merch. You can definitely get that. Otherwise, I mean, I'm desperate for Instagram followers always, so you can do that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the link below. I'll whack it.
Perfect.
There we go.
You.
Yeah, and then, of course, your things are all over there below you. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter as well. So there we go. Perfect. Well, mate, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll see you at the major as well. I'll come find you at some point. I'll be dotted around, so I'll come find you. I'll be there for the semi-finals and the finals, so I'll see you there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely meet.
Well, thank you very much for joining, and of course, everyone at home, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed it, and well, until next time, we'll see you all very, very soon.